Welcome to my F1 channel, welcome to Peter on Pole. My name is Peter, in pole position. Let's look ahead to the Austrian Grand Prix. Let's do some predictions, let's do a bit of a preview ahead of the weekend's race. Let's kick things off with qualifying, and guess what? My pole sitter and my wild prediction in qualifying, they're gonna kind of come together, and that is because Valtteri Bottas, I've said it, I've done it, Valtteri Bottas will take pole position at the Austrian Grand Prix. The guy looked sort of under the radar last weekend at the Austrian Grand Prix. I don't think much was spoken about him. But remember, he finished faster than Lewis Hamilton in qualifying. He also finished third in the race. And when you consider, you know, he actually had a good race. There was nothing actually wrong. And sort of no news Bottas is sort of good news, if that makes sense. He actually does improve a lot more. And I think this is one of his favourite circuits when you go back in history and look at the Austrian Grand Prix. He's had his pole sitters there, he's won the races there. He's actually a good driver at this circuit. So I think now the attention is away from him, this is where he kind of shines. And I'm sorry, Valtteri, because I'm bringing the attention back to you because I think you will actually do well this weekend. So I'm going to go with Valtteri Bottas to be on pole this weekend. But to add a bit of spice to the wild prediction of qualifying, George Russell will finally get into Q3 on merit, no penalties included, nothing else going on around him, but I think he'll make it. He was 1/8 of a second from Q3 last weekend. I think this time round he puts it into Q3. It will be scenes yet again like when England beat Germany in the Euros. It's going to be the same thing. We're going to have a lot of celebration, and it's on a Saturday when England are playing Ukraine. Lance Stroll, you're going to finish ahead of Sebastian Vettel. That will round up my wild predictions for qualifying ahead of the Austrian Grand Prix. Who doesn't make Q3? Well, guess what? I mentioned Lance Stroll earlier. Sebastian Vettel will not make it into Q3, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't make it last weekend at the Austrian Grand Prix, and that might not be as surprising. But when you think about it, the Aston Martin is actually developing to be a good car. It looks good, it looks better. It's getting finely tuned as the weekend goes on. And Stroll, man, yes, such an underrated race last weekend. Stroll, you're going to be in Q3. Sebastian Vettel, you will not make it, my friend. Let's get into the race, ladies and gentlemen. What is my podium ahead of the race? In third place, Lewis Hamilton. That is correct. Lewis Hamilton will finish in third place because I don't think he's got it together with that car. The car is an issue, but I don't think he's got it together here, especially at this circuit. I don't know whether the two don't marry. I'm not quite sure. I can't really put it into words. Toto Wolff last weekend was very, very surprising. He said some very concerning comments about not being the fastest car in 8 years and them scratching their heads after the Austrian Grand Prix, not knowing what's going to happen. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they fare this weekend, and I can't really see anything but a third place finish for Lewis Hamilton. I've been struggling between him and Perez because I'm not entirely sure. You know, Perez, Red Bull, they're the strategy kings at the minute, and I feel like maybe Perez could have snuck into that third place, but to bet against Lewis Hamilton is just absurd, especially on the podium. So Lewis Hamilton, P3. In second place, ladies and gentlemen, Max Verstappen. Oh, yes, indeed. And last week, I betted against him for winning the race as well. But this time around, I feel like there's somebody else I need to throw into this mix. And he might cause a bit of a spanner in the works, if you will. There's no urgency for Max Verstappen to necessarily win this race. Keep the points coming. Even if you're in the top two, stay in the top two because you're leading the Drivers' Championship. There's no rush. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So I think Max Verstappen will probably finish in second place because with the man who's got something to prove, he's got a point to prove, and he's got to shut some people up. Valtteri Bottas, I think, will take the win here in Austria. Crazy as it sounds, but I just have a funny feeling. I don't know what it is, and I can't deny his record in Austria in the Red Bull ring, and I'm going to go with Valtteri Bottas. What is surprising, remember last weekend when Max Verstappen took pole at qualifying, it was the first time that Red Bull had ever qualified on pole in their home circuit. And I don't know what it is about Bottas. I'm not going to try and say he's necessarily fast, but there are some circuits that just suit certain drivers. And it's difficult for me to look past Valtteri Bottas. He's not had the best season, for sure. But I do think that he's actually going to... He's got a point to prove, as I said, he's got a point to prove, and I think he will stick that Mercedes some way, somehow, in first place and win the race. Fastest lap, however, Max Verstappen, because I think if the race is gone, then at least he can go into the pits, change for the tyres, boom, off he goes, fastest lap. Very simple, getting an extra point there, and it's quite self-explanatory why he would do that. Who will disappoint me this weekend? I mean, it probably goes without saying, but Danny Rick, especially as a McLaren guy. I should have put him in there last week, but I thought, because I'm not expecting much from him, he won't necessarily disappoint me. But what he had gone through last weekend, I was still deeply disappointed. And I didn't realize I would be. And, you know, it's like, yeah, you know that somebody's not going to do well, but then if they don't do well, you're still disappointed by it. And it's a bit like, well, you kind of, what are you surprised by? And I just have a feeling like he really needs to get it together this weekend. Otherwise, he's in big trouble. Because at first I thought, you know what, just calm down, let the man learn the car. He'll be all right over time. But this circuit, again, nice circuit for McLaren, especially for Lando Norris. Danny, like, come on. First DNF, turn 1, it'll be both Hasses, won't they? They're just going to hit each other, aren't they? Sorry, Shumi, and sorry, Nikita, because I just don't think, you know, last weekend they had a few moments where there was a bit, you know, nip and tuck. And I thought, you know what, they need to sort this mess out. And I remember Gunter, I think, even was busting joke earlier. But this time around, I just have a feeling like everybody's going to be that gun-ho. This is the last time they're going to be in Austria. They're going to gun-ho on this circuit. And I just have a feeling there's going to be a calamitous. Because I was amazed, you know, I mean, last weekend it was an absolute epic. Caused really by Charles Leclerc, really, if anything. But this weekend, I'm going to go with the Hasses. Yeah. Roll on to 2022. Roll on to 2022. Bloody hell, that's not easy to say. Dark horse, who should I keep an eye on? Last week I said Pierre Gasly. This week I say Pierre Gasly. I know he had an absolute mare into turn 1, turn 3 with Charles Leclerc and everybody else. But I think if he gets away this time round, I think we'll definitely see improvements for Pierre Gasly. He is a superb driver. He is learning and learning. He's growing and growing ever since he's joined Toro Rosso. And then from Red Bull, moving on to AlphaTauri, he's been phenomenal. And I do not see I don't see any other driver really doing better than him or, you know, exceeding expectations like him. Maybe Lando Norris could be in there, but, you know, Lando Norris is not somebody that you've got to keep your eye on because I think everybody's fully aware that Lando Norris is a big player this season. But Pierre Gasly, he's been very steady as time has gone on and he's actually been racking up some good points and he's really performing well. And in practice 1 and 2, and I think even in 3 last weekend, he was doing phenomenally great as well. And so just watch out for those AlphaTauris. They will be near the top time sheets again in practice this weekend. So yeah, Pierre Gasly, I'm watching out for you, my friend. Those are my predictions ahead of the Austrian Grand Prix. Let me know in the comments below. Give me your predictions. Who are going to be the top 3 in the race? Who's going to be qualifying on pole? Who's going to be the first to DNF? Who's going to disappoint you? Who should I keep an eye out on for? I'd love to hear your comments below. Let's have a conversation. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you want more F1 content like this. And with that said, people, lights out.